Welcome to Educata's mini lesson on using filters. In this lesson, you will learn how to filter the information presented on your report so that you can look at different patterns. You will first learn to use a single filter to change one question in your form. For example, if you only want to see the responses from 1 month for all of your students, or for just one student over a period of time. Next, you will learn how to create multiple filters so that you can restrict the data to, say, one student and with only 1 month. Since your reports provide you with real-time, cumulative summary data, filters provide you with an important tool for looking back in time at a subset of the data presented. Here you see the report that we have used in the first 2 mini lessons on reporting. Specifically, this is the report showing responses to the form, "How are you feeling?" representing the students' perceptions of their feelings and motivations. This report shows all of the data to date, specifically a total of 614 responses, as shown here. What we will now do is open the dialog box for the filters by navigating down to the grayed out icon dashboard and then clicking on the far left icon, which is the filter icon. This opens up the first filter icon dialog box, and you will start by clicking on the Add Filter button. Once you select this button, it will open up to the main filter dialog box shown here. You now have a setup for creating one filter, indicated under this column as filter number 1. To the right, you see that this filter is active as the checkbox has been checked. As you create more filters, you can check this box on and off to either make the filter active or not. To the right of the checkbox on the top is a drop-down for the filter type. You will see here 3 options: question, date, and email. For the most part, you will be using the question type and never use the email type, as your forms are not accessed by email and nor do they use email information. The date type here refers to the submission date and not to the calendar date question that is within most of the forms you are using. Here's the important difference. Whenever you submit a form, it is automatically stamped with the date and time. If you want to filter your data by the submit date, then this is the question type you select. And if you do, as shown here, it presents you with an option to filter by a range of dates. Importantly, most users use the calendar date as a question because the date associated with the information in the form is often associated with an earlier day. What this means is that submit date is not the actual date for the information in the form. So if your forms are often submitted with dates that reflect earlier times, then use the question type filter. Okay, we next turn to the select question dropdown, and here you can see all the questions in your form. We will start by selecting the date question. This question uses the little thumbnail calendar question form and presents the date in the form of months, days, and year. We are going to put in a filter for all days in October, so 10 backslash. As this final line indicates, it says, please filter for all records that contain all words in the area below. In this case is the string of letters or characters 1, 0, backslash. We have now built our first filter, and we can now click the apply button to make it active. Next, we hit the back button and we will return to the report. What you can now see right on top is the fact that our initial total of 614 responses has been reduced to 439. We can confirm that we have used the filter correctly to only select dates in October by opening up the date question right here. Clicking here reveals that all of our entries are associated with dates in October. We can now close this window and return to our report. Scrolling down, we now have all of our graphs and tables showing data from only the month of October. This is useful for looking at a restricted period of time. Next, let's go back to our filter and edit the information. Again, I click on the filter icon on the dashboard, which now says Edit because I already have built one filter. Let's now change the question here from date to name so that we can filter for one student. Now that I've selected name as the question, the possible answers appear in the pull down below, and this is a list of all students. Here I will select the first name in the list to zoom in on only her data, Angeline G. Again, I hit the Apply button and then back to return to the report. Now you will see that our data set has been reduced from 614 original responses to 31, and as the information on top reveals under name, we only see information for Angeline on top. As we scroll down, we now see only information for this one student, thus allowing us to export graphs and tables for the student to present in a particular report. In this last section of the mini lesson, you will learn how to add an additional filter to provide even more restrictions on what your reports show. Once again, we click on the filter icon on the dashboard and edit the filter. We will leave the first filter restricting the report to only one student, but add a second filter to restrict the data to the month of October. If we click the Add Filter button, we obtain a second filter dialog box. As we did earlier, we are going to select question as the type, and we are going to select date as the question. We will keep under Include Records the That Contain All Words option, and we will type in 10 / to include only data from the month of October. All of this is hopefully familiar from our previous discussion. The only new piece is that we have to select the filter logic shown here. You have three options, and only the first two are of relevance for now. In the case we are building, we want to include only information from one student and from one date period, so we use the AND logic. Let's apply this and see how it works, and then we will return to use the OR logic. So I click the Apply button, then the Back button, and we are back at our report. Recall that when we filtered for just the one student, Angie Lynn, we had 31 responses. Now we add the date restriction and only the responses in October, we drop to 19 responses. What this shows you is how you can create increasingly refined restrictions on the kind of information you show in the report, and thus what you can use for your own reporting. Now let's go back and use two filters with the OR logic. Again, click the Edit Filter icon. Let's say you wanted to see the data from the months of September to October, but not include any other months. Here, you use the OR logic because you want to filter the data to look only at date information with either a 9 or a 10 in the month spot. So, since we already have a filter for October here, I'm going to change the top filter from name to date. I'm going to type in 9 / for September, and I'm going to click on the OR logic button here, and then hit Apply and back to get back to our report. As you can see, when we only filtered for October, we had 439 responses, but now with September added, we have a total of 511 responses. This concludes the mini lesson using filters. There are other more complicated ways to use filters, which will be covered in later lessons, or contact us.